I've received a few parcels over the past couple of weeks, which means I can get back on with the brakes. And I'll start with mounting the calipers. It is of course a simple job, although it's worth calling out that I'm using zinc plated bolts rather than the original parts. Stainless steel is not best suited for high shear loads, so I'll avoid using that. I couldn't find any specified torque figures for these bolts, so I go along with the generic 40 Newton meters, or 30 foot-pound for anyone stuck in the past. In the first of my parcels was the brake distributor back from having Cerakote applied. Although I had previously cleaned out the threads, it certainly won't hurt to do it again, and then of course give it a good wash and blow out. Before fitting it to the bike, I fit the brake light switch. The thread on this is parallel, not tapered, as I found out when I tried a generic off-the-shelf item. According to the parts diagram, the switch is fitted to this port here in the middle, the one above it being the feed to the front left caliper, and the one below is the feed in from the master cylinder. The port at the bottom connects to the rear caliper. I'll come back to the hoses a bit later, but for now fit a banjo bolt for the feed from the master and an M10 fine to 1/8 BSP adapter for the feed out to the rear caliper. If it's not already obvious, I'm not fully tightening any of these fittings just yet. I'm just nipping them up enough to hold themselves in place. Exactly what Moto Guzzi's design engineers were thinking when they decided to install it here is beyond me, but it is located such that all the connections are exposed to the crap that will be thrown up by the back wheel. For us here in the UK, that includes the salt that is spread on the roads when the temperature drops below freezing. Even worse when I consider that the wiring for the brake light switch is going to be here. I've also received the link pipes. The first here connects to the distributor at one end and is routed up underneath the tank to connect to the flexible hose for the front left caliper at the other. Looking at some pictures shared by other Guzzi owners via Facebook, it would appear that the front end of the pipe should be secured to the tab under the top frame tube that I've currently got the engine run relay bolted to. The other link pipe is fitted directly to the rear caliper and does appear to be quite different to the OEM part, although I'm assuming that as I'm not sure that the pipe that was on mine was original. As we can see, it's quite a distance away from the clamp bolt hole on the swing arm, and although I'm sure it wouldn't take too much effort to tweak the bends to bring it a little closer, I'm worried that I'll end up kinking it. So for now, I'll make a new bracket. The original brake hoses would have been black, but the bike had these braided hoses fitted when I got it. I've opted to stick with something similar and will be fitting these clear shrouded items from Venhills, mainly because I already had some that I intended to use for my Cafe Racer build. However, I did have to order 2 new hoses for the link brake system and a bundle of stainless adapters, all of which arrived in my third parcel. These Venhill hoses have the advantage of being modular with 1/8 BSP swivel nuts at either end, so that a variety of different banjos or adapters can be fitted. For the link brakes, the first hose connects from the master cylinder to the lower port on the distributor. For the outlet from the master, I'm using this 45-degree angled banjo and routing the hose down under the battery box and back out to the distributor where it connects to the banjo I fitted earlier. This one is also angled, albeit at 15 degrees, just to kink the hose away from the frame. I'm not sure what route the original hose took, but I want as much of this hose as possible away from the shite that the back wheel will be throwing up. The hose to the rear caliper is attached at this end to the male 10mm fine to 1/8 BSP adapter I fitted to the bottom port, and then at the other end to the link pipe via another adapter, this time 1/8 BSP to M10 fine female. To finish off with this hose, I've made a simple bracket from stainless steel and used this off-the-shelf hose clamp over the adapter. The third hose connects to the long link pipe under the tank, again using a 1/8 BSP to M10 fine female adapter. To secure it, I've turned a simple post from a piece of stainless hex and relocated the engine run relay to the other side of the tab on the frame tube and use another of these off-the-shelf hose clamps. This hose is routed out from underneath the front of the tank and down to the front left caliper. And to connect it to the caliper, I use this 45-degree banjo. For the front brake master, there is only the one hose down to the front right caliper. This is secured to the master via a brake light switch banjo bolt and routes down behind the yokes to the caliper, where I'm using another 45-degree banjo. I'm pretty sure that the hoses at the front here would have been secured somewhere on the original bike, but any such arrangements were long gone by the time it came to me. The hoses I bought for the front do have these rubber grommets, so once I get the mudguard back on, I can look at options to secure them. So that's the plumbing done for the brakes, and tempted though I am to add fluid and bleed them, I'm going to hold off until I've got the bodywork back on the bike, as I'm pretty sure they'll all be coming off again before I'm done.